Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Retro Channel. Now today we're looking at the Atari 65 XE. What can I tell you about it? It's not a Commodore. Well, thanks for watching. It belongs to Mr. Lurch, but he was having some issues getting it working properly, so I volunteered to take a look at it. So let's check it out on the bench. Right, well, first things first, I guess we just open it up and have a look. I think all the screws have already been removed. And it looks like the keyboard's already been disconnected. There's a crusty RF shield, which I can't stand those things. I better strap on. No screws there. And another crusty RF shield. I'll just put all that aside. This is what we want to see. It's leaving dirt all over my bench already. Hook it up to power and see what it does, I guess. I did create a quick little AV cable, which is not long enough. They're similar to the Commodore 64 DIN cables, but I think I had to move the Luma because that's where the composite video is from memory. I don't know. I'm not going to detail that. Sorry. You can find out how to build them online. And the DIN plug is quite simple for the power. It's pretty much 5 volts on one side and ground on the other. So that was pretty easy to throw together. I think that's already on, actually. Where's that one? Either way, I'm not getting any signal on the monitor. I might just plug in the keyboard. I don't think you'd need that to boot it up, but there's a power light at least. Okay, the power light's on, so that's on, and I'm getting absolutely no signal, and I have checked to make sure I wired that plug up correctly. So okay, disconnect all this for now. Put that over there. I guess we'll have a poke around the board and see what we can find. Now, yeah, Mr. Lurch already was playing around with this. I assume these RAM chips are all, a lot of them are slightly different. So I assume all of these have been, at least some of them have been replaced, but they've probably all been socketed. I imagine they were soldered on the board originally. So might just leave it turned on and see if we get any hot chips. Oh yeah, and he's done an RF mod, or an RF delete, which I think is supposed to improve the video output, because apparently these are pretty rubbish with their video output. And not that I doubt his work, but first thing you do when you're working on anything is check previous work that's been done, regardless of who's done it, really. So okay, yeah, definitely the RAM chips have been replaced. And a couple of other things which are probably to do with this RF delete. I'd say these blue resistors are new, possibly that cap as well. But they all look okay from what I can tell. I've never really worked on an Atari before, and all of these part numbers really mean nothing to me. I know there's like the Sally is the CPU, and there's a Freddy and a Pokey and stuff. I'll have to get some schematics, because Atari was also a bit rubbish at printing this silk screen. All the component numbers are printed under the actual components, so that's a bit annoying, and nothing is obvious as to what it is, so I'll have to do some Googling, possibly. Let's just see if anything's cooking. Oh, okay. Now I can't tell. That chip was mighty hot. Now my finger's really hot, so I can't actually tell. Ah, okay. That guy there is fucking hot. So that's a bad RAM chip for sure. Which one was it? This one. Yes. That's coming out. The good thing is these are 4164s, so pretty simple to replace. Oh, it's even written there. I'll find a spare, I guess. Alright, yes. 4164. Let's put this in. I guess hook up the video again and see if it magically works. Oh God, this is short. No signal. Well, at least that RAM's not cooking. But nothing else is happening either. I guess just poke around the board and see if we've got some proper voltages. Just hook that there. So we must have something coming in. 5.1 volts. Let's switch it on. One of these 5.1. Okay, power's coming in. There's a big cap here and here. Okay, that's got 5.1 on its positive side. That looks good. 4164s. I think the 5 volts should be on pin 8. Yep. Alright, they've all got 5 volts. Let's have a look over this side of the board. That's 5 volts. I guess this diode is going to have 5 volts. Yep. So there's definitely power flowing around. I might just check all these connections on the RAM chips, make sure they're all connected up properly. Alright, all of those seem to be at least connected properly, but I might test out all these RAM chips anyway. And for that, I'm going to use Commodore 64. That's right. Even on a non-Commodore video, I'm still going to put a Commodore 64 in it. This is the ZIF Commodore 64, which I use for testing a lot of stuff, but one of the RAM chips is actually socketed in a ZIF socket, so I can simply pull those out and swap the chips in and out, so it'll make it easy for me to test which ones are actually working correctly. So I'll do that and we'll come back and find out. Alright, so in the end it seemed all of them were working in this board. I actually found one in the spare stock that I had that's not working. So yeah, watch out when you're buying these things from, you know, eBay or AliExpress, because make sure you test them first before you go assuming that they're just going to work. and that's the cooked one. That can go too. Alright, so that is okay. I guess we'll have a look at this RF mod. So I'll do some Googling and come back and see if I can figure out how that's supposed to work. Right, so I think this is the ultimate S-Video mod, which requires replacing a few of these resistors with some 75 ohm ones, which even though they're in circuit seem to test okay. And this cap, the 220 microfarad, that's right. Is that R205? Okay, well the copy of this mod that I've got, R205, actually gets replaced with a diode. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference in this case, but, and maybe there's another mod out there, but from the one I've got, usually you put a diode in here. I don't think that's going to affect the video output that much. We should still get something off it. I think the video output should still work, even if it's not 100% the same as the one I'm looking at. So I think there's something else going on here. I think it's time to, first of all, work out what all these actually correlate to, and then I can start probing some stuff with the old trusty scope. Alright, so after a good amount of Googling, I've found some schematics that seem to be close enough, and I've also quickly mocked up a little board layout with the chips in question and also what their pinouts are. So this should allow us to dig a little bit deeper. Some of the part numbers, especially like on the CPU and the Antic chip, these ones don't seem to match a lot of the information that's available online, so it was a bit of a nightmare to try and work them out, but I think I've got this correct. So I'll hook it back up to power again. If the cable will reach. Ooh, it's a stretch. Alright, and we should be able to look at some of the voltages around the board to begin with. So let's see. So this is CPU up here. So VDD, VCC. I think we need pin 8. 5.1 volts. That's good. The Antic. No, it's VSS. VCC is over here. 5.1. So it looks like we've got power. 27 on the GTIA looks good. Power going to these ROMs. Yep. The Pokey chip, which I think handles the sort of input outputs. VCC is pin 17. 17. Yep. And pin 20 up here. Alright, cool. I think I've got this correct. And voltages look correct here. So why are we not booting? I guess the next thing to do would be to check the reset line. Which looks like pin 40 on the CPU. And I assume it's going to use this little 555 timer down here. That's sitting at 5 volts at the moment, so it's sitting high. Where are we, Sally? Reset goes. Yes, pin 3 of the 555. Okay. pins 4 and 8 of the 555 should have, whoops, let's come off. Oh, this thing is crap. I have to get some better hooks. Hook probes. Alright, pin 4. Yeah, it's getting 5 volts. Yep, cool. Alright, pin 3. What happens? Okay, so it looks like, and sorry, I don't know how much glare is going to be on this screen. Hopefully you can still make it out. Alright, so it looks like the output of the 555 immediately goes high and stays high. Which I'm not sure if that's the right behavior. What else is connected here? And yeah, this is the annoying part because all of this stuff, the silk screen is printed under the components. Right, after a bit of Googling online, I found this little service manual, which I'll link to down below on the Atari Age website, I think it was. And somewhere in here, it does mention pin 3 should read logic low momentarily, then go to logic high and stay high when the computer is turned on or the reset key is pressed. If it doesn't work, check C200, R39 and R40 and U19, which is the 555 timer, so I've done all that. Check the clock circuits, that's probably a good idea. Let's check some clock circuits. Well, there is a clock signal of 1.77 megahertz, which should be right. And 1.77 is very sawtooth. And pin 3. That's a bit more square. 1.77. 25 of the PIA, which suggests pin 25. I'm not going to be able to reach pin 25. Pin 25. There's 20 pins, isn't it? Yeah, 21, 25. 1.77, that looks a bit more square, so that seems alright. So the clock signal seems to be getting around the board, so that's a good sign. Alright, sorry about the random break. The memory card was full in the camera, so it just stopped recording, but I did start having a poke around at just the address lines and the data lines on the CPU. Most of them look normal. I can see pulsing, voltages look okay. But pin 25 on the CPU, which is address line A15, it's pulsing, but it's also sitting at about 3 volts or so. So even though I can see pulses coming through, it's not dropping to 0. It's sitting at 3 volts and then just pulsing just above that. So I've marked out on the board a little dot where A15 is. So it's pin 25 on the CPU. It's also at pin 20 on the Antic. And it goes to pin 5 on the MMU. And finally, pin 24 on the Freddy. The rest of the address lines, like some of them seem to be stuck high or low, which is also a bit strange. Like that's just stuck low. That's address line 13. But definitely address 15, yeah, it's just all over the place. It also goes to the cartridge port here, so you should be able to see it there too. Yeah, there it is. So the next question is it the CPU? Is it, what's the other thing called? Is it Sally, Antic, the MMU, or Freddy? Nothing is supposed to be simple here. So I'm going to start by pulling the CPU and putting it in a socket, but I'm going to pull the CPU out and just see if there's any difference in those address lines, see if they just sit high or low. So new sockets in, no dramas there. Let's just have a look at what it does without a CPU. 1, 2, 3, 4, 25. Alright, so 25 is sitting low. Shouldn't be too surprising. Alright, so some of the odd ones out. Pin 23, which is address 15, has some odd lumps on top of the address line. It's almost like it's being pulled to 3 volts, similar to what address line 15 is doing, except it doesn't go low at all. It's stuck at 3 volts and then just pulses above that. This is also looking pretty rough. That's data line 7. Data line 6 looks a bit better. 5 looks a bit rough. 4 looks better. 3 seems to be okay. This is data line 2, which just has these strange lumps that at 3.2 volts, so that's bad. Data line 1 is just blank, and data line 0 is blank. So if you're like me and you're watching a TV show and it's getting about 2 minutes towards the end and you're like, there's no way they're going to solve this mystery. They're not going to make it. There's going to be a second part. Well, there's going to be a second part. I do need to order another CPU. I figured that's the most likely culprit here. So given the data and address lines are all located on this guy, unsurprisingly, I'm going to replace that first, which is kind of good because I've already socketed it, and they're still fairly easy to come by. And I have pulled out this big fat capacitor on the power supply because, yeah, it's a bit overrated in terms of voltage. So, and it just didn't look very pretty, so I made it pretty again. Anyway, join me for part 2, where hopefully we won't go into a part 3. Although if we do, can you blame me? Thanks for watching the Retro Channel. As always, take care. Leave me a comment. You can hit like, dislike, do whatever you do, share it around, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.